Hello, I'm Game Retainer, and in this video I'll be showing you a few things that you might not know about the 7 Days to Die 2.5 update. Some of the things in this video I have already shown in a recent tips and tricks video, so sorry if you already heard me talk about some of these. But with that said, let's dive straight in. First, you can now gather honey with vehicles. It sounds strange, I know, but if you run over a stump in a 4x4, there's a small chance that you'll get some honey and maybe even some beeswax. It's not worth doing, since you'll go through a lot of repair kits as you'll need to fix your vehicle up every 5 minutes, but it is possible. Moving on, if you are struggling to kill mutated zombies more so than before, that's because they've been given a HP boost of 200. This makes sense since the wasteland is supposed to be a challenge and these zombies are most commonly found there. With them being a little more difficult to kill, newer players might not know that the head isn't actually the top of the blob. If you want to cause the most amount of damage, you want to find his head, which you'll find right in the middle here. Speaking of the wasteland, thanks to the smell mechanic, it's now very easy to rack up lots of kills and in turn gain lots of XP by carrying raw meat around with you. This is risky, but it's also a great way of getting some extra loot bags. Zombie bears and direwolves have a decent chance of dropping a red loot bag, so if you spend some time running around the wasteland holding raw meat, you'll get plenty of XP and hopefully some good loot as well. If you want to go one step further, you can hang on to raw meat during a storm. Doing this gives you almost a miniature horde night, which is pretty good if you're looking to level up quickly. Mutated zombies aren't the only ones who have been given a health boost. Chuck now has an extra 100 HP. The former Frostclaw is now a little bit tankier than he once was. Also, since he throws boulders with one hand, if you're able to slice off that arm, he can't actually pick up the rocks. It is tricky to do, and to be honest this isn't really useful, but it's interesting to know. The next one is something that I initially missed. The Gamestage modifiers for different biomes have been changed. Now, your game stage is slightly higher than before when you enter any biome with the exception of the Pine Forest. Basically, this means that things will be a little bit tougher, but you'll also have a little extra boost to your overall loot quality. Apiaries have a similar model to the Dew Collector. This means that you can keep your apiaries underground. Provided there's at least 6 blocks of space above the apiary, it will continue to work as normal. This one actually pops up in the tips menu on the load screen, but I'm willing to bet that a few people haven't read this. The developers also made a subtle change around bees. Prior to 2.5, when you killed a bee swarm, they'd count towards the Kill 500 animal challenge. Well, as of 2.5, killing bees won't actually count towards this. I do get why the developers did this. It would be very easy to complete the kill animal challenge since all you'd need to do is open and close your apiaries for a while. But not to be that guy, technically, bees are animals. Or at least, that's what Bing says. If you want to eat and you don't want to generate any smells, then the best thing to do, aside from consuming foods that don't smell, or turning off the smell mechanic entirely, is to bring along a bucket of water. Just pour out the water, eat your food, and scoop the water back up again. I did mention this in a previous video, but it is very handy, especially if there's no nearby water source. One last thing when it comes to smells, if you decide to stand next to a radioactive barrel, you'll attract zombies. I'm not sure why you'd want to stand next to a radioactive barrel, but be warned, zombies will head straight for you. You can't get stuck in a storm on day 1. Storms don't start until the 2nd day. Even if you go into one of the more difficult biomes and try and use console commands to summon a storm, if it's the first day, there's no way a storm can happen. You can now stack attribute mods on your helmet. Before version 2.5 you could only put one attribute boosting mod on your helmet, but now you can have all of them active at the same time. This is great for saving a few skill points during the later stages of a playthrough. Be careful when you're near barrels. It used to take a few shots to make them explode, but now it only takes the one. So it's pretty easy to accidentally send yourself back to your bedroll if you're not careful. Speaking of your bedroll, these can actually hinder you. A long time ago you used to have an option when you died. You could either spawn near your backpack or on your bedroll. But that changed. I think this was prior to 2.5, but still, it's worth mentioning. If you're planning to go off on a big trip far away from your base, it might be a good idea to pick up your bedroll. You can either place it close by to where you're going to be, or just don't place one down at all. If you don't have a bedroll placed down and you die, you'll automatically spawn pretty close to your backpack. This is pretty handy because if you're like me, then you would have made quite a few very long trips after dying to try and get your backpack back. This next one is about handling the cold. Most players will know that you can stay warm by holding a torch, staying close to a campfire, or by using either the clothing or insulated armor mods. But there are a few other things that you can do to keep warm. A lot of these may seem obvious, but if you're like me, then it's pretty easy to overlook them. Forges and cooking stations will warm you up, I'm pretty sure everybody knows that, but so will candles and jack-o'-lanterns. Also, if you're holding a bow or crossbow with flaming arrows equipped, they'll produce heat. The Burning Shaft mod is among the best mobile heat sources in the game. This mod can go on things like spears, sledgehammers, clubs, axes, and even the wrench. Holding a lit Molotov will also keep you warm. These only explode when you throw them, so you don't need to worry about them going off in your hand. What is strange with these is that when you do throw them, the fireball that's emitted doesn't really give you much heat. That is unless you catch fire, which is not great. If a zombie drops a loot bag and you want to nudge it into the boundary of a higher POI to get a nice loot boost, then you can push it along with your vehicle. You used to be able to nudge it with your gun, but I tried that and it just wouldn't budge. But if you hop on a vehicle, you can just push your loot bags around pretty easily. This last one is for those who haven't touched the jar refund option. I assume this will be patched out at some point, but at least at the moment you can get a jar back from consuming some rather weird items. First, it's possible to get a jar back when consuming any of the Biome foods, but it gets a bit weirder. Some of the foods that can give you back a jar are spaghetti, honey brisket, boiled eggs, boiled meat, and blueberry pie. Maybe I'm cooking wrong, but I'm fairly certain these dishes don't turn into glass jars when you eat them. If you entered the giveaway I did on a tips and tricks video from a little while ago, then here's the draw for that. I was supposed to do this on January 1st, but I got a little sidetracked over the holidays. But here's the winner. So, congratulations, I'll tag your winning comment so you can claim your prize. But that's going to be it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this video interesting. If there are any other things that you feel players may not have noticed, then feel free to share them in the comment section. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next video.